something like this, which is very strange.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you had an infinite amount of time, you would probably apply the strategy of Tachyon for Valid and Apex for everything else. But I mean, you don't. So why am I talking about it? I'm saying, if this comp sort of ran over a month, say, and you had the time to sort of fine tune absolutely everything. But it is great to see 3 vendors really in the runnings, because yes, last year we barely even had a second vendor because Giga struggled extremely hard, and ASRock did not have a venture qualified. Okay, so the stream just went up. There was a bit of an issue with that. So maybe just to summarize, if people would like a different experience to my Twitch, I don't begrudge them whatsoever. There's plenty of options. You can go onto G.SKILL Gaming's Facebook page. We're streaming there. You can go onto my YouTube, which is essentially my Twitch but without the ads. Although I did adjust the ad setting, and we're only running 90 seconds of ads per hour. So that's very little. So those are the first 2 options, first 3 I should say, and the 4th option we've got today is Elmore Labs' YouTube. And maybe just to reiterate, Mr. Peter, aka Scatterbencher, is live on his own channel, covering the left-hand side of the stage as you're looking at it right now, with the world records. I think that was a lot of introduction and chat about burgers and things. Let's have a look to see what the benchers are up to. We see Demon just pouring into his memory pot. We see Hiwa, the judge, next to him, having an animated discussion with a person I don't know. Then we have one of the fine folks of G.SKILL with the mask in the background there, making sure there's enough two in the flasks. And then behind Hiwa, we have the glass Sebi, looking a little bit questioning, looking back at his screen, which I always find puzzling because, he must have been looking at the ranking. For those who are not aware, the display out from the bench rigs actually goes into 3 locations. So it goes into the monitor right in front of the competitor, a monitor behind them up on the wall so that the live viewers can watch, and then it also very run into my booth and then into the live stream. So it looked like he was looking at his own screen, but then I think he sort of glanced left onto the rankings, which is Leaguehoofd, who you may be able to spot just behind Sebi with the glasses and the beard, who is one of the judges and has a laptop in front of him, which also gets replicated onto the wall so that the live audience knows the current rankings and current scores. And last but certainly not least, with the very closely cropped hair, we have Black Dot. So that's visually what's going on. Let's have a look at the actual rigs, and let's go to Black Dot because he's the caster's curse, right? I thought he was going to do something, but obviously not. But I'll keep an eye.
That's how it goes sometimes. Yeah, it's definitely. By the way, I'm just going to say this: if we had a competition for best hair, I'm going to have to give it to Demon. Dude's got one heck of a hairstyle going. I like it. A little bit going on. Let's see here.
What about Black Dot? No, Black Dot has the best hair. What are you talking
about? So, looks like we've started the next stage, which is Y Cruncher, and Demon has actually posted a score. So, we should probably keep an eye out for that. And, yeah, his score is 2 minutes, 6 seconds, and 666 milliseconds. Ooh.
That's a meme number right there.
Isn't it? Yeah, so we're moved on into the next stage. It's going to be interesting. So it doesn't sound like it's a OS issue, because if Demon can run Y Cruncher, I don't think there was an issue with OS. Carta, if you go to Unity's YouTube channel, it's, I don't know what the URL is, but it's just look up
youtube.com/UnityOC. Oh, UnityOC, I think. I'll double check.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a command, I think.
Probably. So that puts Demon in first in the Y Cruncher category, maybe only because he was the first person to get a score up. We'll see. But it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye out for. If we can, hopefully we can catch him running it at some point so we can see him save the score and get his memory settings.
Yeah, so in terms of maybe just a sorry, where did you want to go? You want to go to Black? Is that it?
Well, I was saying if Demon is getting another run-in for Y Cruncher,
nah, he's not.
We missed his first one, but he's
all right.
That's one of the hard things, guys. Is
I'm very short on monitors here. If I had more monitors, I would have the clean competitors feed also up, but I don't, so I have to kind of just keep switching through the inputs. What I was gonna just briefly explain in terms of multi-streaming, the same video and audio feed is going to all of those 4 channels, and my restreaming platform combines the chat as well, so we get all of the chat messages as well. The only thing that is just slightly different is obviously if you prefer a certain platform or certain app, go there. I don't really care which one you go to, as long as you view the stream. And just the way that platforms work, there isn't such thing as disabling all of the ads on my chat. I wish I could. I set the slider to the lowest setting, which is 90 seconds per hour, as I already mentioned. The only bomb-proof way of getting 0 ads on Twitch is to subscribe to my channel. That's just how Twitch works. So in terms of if you really are allergic to ads, go to one of the YouTubes. Right. Comp-wise, what is going on? We have Black Dot in OS. Let's go there. Y Cruncher 5B.
Oh, and he's running Y Cruncher. This is going to be the tough one. I hope he gets through so we can see what kind of frequencies he's running.
Coefficient
too large. You're going to get that a lot. That's going to happen a lot. That's basically... I think at this point, if you can just get a Y Cruncher run in, you might be in better shape. This also goes to strategy. So I was thinking about this. If you're running this competition, I would honestly prioritize, let's say, valid 32M 7-zip and Pi Prime. I would leave Y Cruncher probably as my lowest priority, just get a filler score in, and then maybe mess around with Evolve. Reason being is no one knows how to run Evolve, theoretically. So it's going to definitely be something where if you can find a weird tweak, you can pull ahead in that stage, and that could be a relatively easy win. Y Cruncher is going to be your hardest one to run, and it might just be worth it to say, I'm not worrying about that. It's not a high priority. Let's get it some hard work done in the stages where I think I can post a good score. Would that be your strategy, or would you probably go a different route?
I mean, the last time I did a live comp, I failed miserably, so you shouldn't probably be asking me for the strategy. Well, it's mandated to go for the valid first, according to the schedule at least. So there's no choice there. I've always been a do the easy stuff first kind of person, so I would actually just, if nothing else interferes, if there's no sort of reason technically in terms of how to load the profiles or how to set up the rig that would interfere with it, my default approach is always easiest bench first, hardest bench last.
Understand. Yeah, I definitely can't. But that's the thing, it's like easiest bench first is also possibly the one that you can improve on the best.
Yeah,
so
and I that's maybe the part that I didn't explain is I like to iterate. So if I'm doing the easiest bench first, that guarantees it's also the first one I rebench, if you know what I mean. So that's part of my strategy.
Gotcha. So what you're saying is you would probably do every single bench and then revisit the ones that you think you have the best room for improvement on?
Correct. That's also how I approach the likes of Push the Hardware, is to sort of put placeholder-ish scores up everywhere and then rebench in order of difficulty.
Yeah, so if you guys are not aware of what he's talking about with Push the Hardware, it is an overclocking competition that runs about 3 times a year, and it's a very specific piece of hardware. So say like we had the Pentium 4 524 was like you had to run that CPU. You couldn't run any other CPU. So in a sense, and there were fixed stages, 5 fixed stages. So in a sense, it's kind of like this, where in this one you have to run the provided DDR5 sticks. Now, in Push the Hardware, there's no frequency limits, mainly because it's a CPU benchmark. That would be a little bit silly to have a frequency limit on anything in there. But that's just to give you guys an idea of what he's referring to. I really do think I would definitely, and what I was referring to as far as doing really well in other stages and not focusing on wide cruncher, that would be provided the next sessions for each of these benches where they can bench any of the benchmarks they want to. So I guess what I'm saying is obviously fill out the stages that you can now, but in the next session for each of these benches where they can bench anything, I would probably just not focus on wide cruncher. That would be my strategy, and put up a filler score right now while you can, and just not worry about wide cruncher.
All right. I've just spent a load of time to put in commands for all the other streams, so I just highlight the exclamation YouTube is my YouTube link, the correct one for today. Exclamation Facebook is G.SKILL's Facebook, and exclamation Elmore is Elmore's YouTube. Those are the 3 restreams. I mean, I'm just assuming people know where my Twitch is. I mean, it seems a bit redundant to put a link in for that. Let's have a short look at, okay, let's go Demon. We haven't shown Demon yet, so let's have a look. Oh, Caster's Curse.
Switch to Black Dot.
Black Dot
was
yeah.
in OS.
Yeah. So we're on 5B.
Wide cruncher run started. Hey, it started. That's something to say. Oh,
Caster's Curse strikes again.
Caster's Curse. These guys are gonna start telling us not to show their screen so they can get scores in. That's exactly what's gonna happen.
So Yi is in this on the same page as us. Yi is saying, yeah, I like having a score. I love the placeholder-ish score, you know? Like, I don't put up just like a stock score. I don't see the point of that. Like the effort involved in posting a score is so great in comparison to booting a system. I may as well just throw an overclock on there. But I'll do like a light LN2 kind of score where I'm quite in control and not pushing any voltages too hard. Very little risk of killing something. So an example would be on my Golden FX chip, which can do 8G 32M, I might throw up a 7.6 32M. That kind of thing. Like a super safe, you know, just going through the motions type score that still comfortably beats all of the other cooling methods available other than LN2 and helium. What's Black Dot doing? Is it easy? He hasn't had a pass, has he?
As of right now, not that I'm aware of. Carta just always shows sends then with the Caster Curse. If you want a new champion this year, that's the way to go for sure.
My monitor here is a bit like in glare, but I believe neither of the close 2 guys are. Oh, actually, Demon is doing a run, so let's go to Demon.
Yeah, he's going. Also, something to just to talk about. If you look on the right side, it has command line options. A lot of those are typically those are going to be set to auto. You can manually set them. Y Cruncher in Benchmade is actually very good at figuring out which commands are optimal for your hardware, but it might be something where you manually set it. I don't know if there's some sort of latency thing where if you it takes a second for the benchmark to recognize your hardware to optimally set it. So, and a lot of guys will manually set like parallel framework, memory allocation. Priority you almost always set to real time. And in particular, Y Cruncher real time does help a lot. There are some benchmarks where it doesn't make a big enough difference and you will actually obviously lose stability. Actually, I'll go into explaining what real time is. More or less, looks like he crashed. Oh,
No. I'm sorry. I'm just. Anytime something weird happens, just assume I'm playing around with settings.
Okay. But basically, real time is you're telling Windows to prioritize that program and that program's workload over anything else in Windows. And what that does is it's basically full throttle, wide open throttle for the benchmark. And if you're thinking about an engine and you're running at maximum RPMs, an engine in the same way, full throttle, max RPMs, much higher risk of blowing the engine, something going catastrophically wrong. So think about it that way. But you do have the most horsepower in an engine at wide open throttle and max RPMs. So maximum potential, maximum risk of failure. That's basically what real time is. And so whenever they're running a benchmark, it's almost always going to be running real time. I know that 7-zip, Pi Prime, and Y Cruncher all benefit massively from running in real time. I'm not sure SuperPi 32M as well. Don't know about Evolve, and I don't know if they're going to have to, because it's not running Benchmade, I don't know if they're going to be able to run it real time. You can set priority in Task Manager as well, but I don't know how that applies to Evolve, because there are some benchmarks like W Prime that even if you run it, the priority in Task
Blue
Manager,
screen.
BSOD, yes. Something like W Prime, if you run, yeah, something like W Prime, if you run it in real time via Task Manager, it's actually not applied to the workload, it's applied to the wrapper for the benchmark. So once the workload starts, it's almost like it's opening a new program than the wrapper for the benchmark. So I don't know how that applies to Evolve. I would assume you can set priority and even affinity, but I'm not certain.
So, no, I was a bit surprised that our display capture from the bench rigs is like a different aspect ratio today, but I believe it's because they have switched from a dedicated display out to iGPU in preparation for Evolve later. So we're now, like yesterday they would have run just a gimmicky little card and straight HDMI out of that. Today, because they have to use the iGPU, they're running, because none of these boards, as we talked about in the preparation stream, none of these boards has an actual full-size HDMI out. So they are running an active adapter USB-C, or Thunderbolt if you prefer that nomenclature, to HDMI, and from there out. So we're actually now on, we can't see it because, let's just, where is it? It's on the bottom there, under OS usually, isn't it? Can you spot the fact that it's on iGPU? I thought Benchmade like exposed what GPU you're using. Anyway, let's just say that that's the case. So for whatever reason, the display output has been slightly sort of thrown off, but that's fine. We can still see everything. So we have a score.
Yeah.
14. Is that 4933 on the RAM?
Yes,
Nice.
4933, cast 32. For Y Cruncher, that's actually very impressive. So if that's any indicator of what Black Dot has as far as memory sticks go, I think he's in pretty good shape. He's also running a TRP of 48 and TRAS of 52, so a little looser on the TRAS, and TRP 48, but that's to be expected through Y Cruncher. You're not going to be able to run the same settings through Y Cruncher that you would say through 7-zip or Pi Prime, or even 32M.
A small little thing that I spotted there was hardware info was actually claiming plus 100 on the CPU. I obviously not a real temperature, but I hope he's not. I mean, his score seems good, but I hope that doesn't run into some sort of fake thermal throttling issue. Maybe it's just a display problem. But yeah, no, impressive score, and he's absolutely right to save it, in my opinion. I don't know how much further he has to go. Does he maybe just move on to another benchmark?
I would. He's already beat Demon with that score, which is impressive. So hopefully, yep, he's more than 2 seconds faster than Demon. Very good score. I would personally move on. I think he's got the gold in that stage for now. Get working on the next benchmark, which I need to look up what the next one is.
Carter, I don't mean to be rude in any way, but the comp page is up on HardwareBot, so you can just look through the stages there yourself and discover that there is indeed an iGPU stage. It is called Evolve. You can even run it yourself by installing it off of Steam. But I will just reiterate that for the purposes of this competition, the benchmark makers actually rolled a custom binary to be put on the OSs, on the SSDs by the judges, which is a sped up version of what you find on Steam. It's an offline version. It packages all of the data so that the first launch is quicker than it would be on the Steam version. And if any, because it's the first time it's being benched live and it's a new bench, if any issues should arise, I believe there's a sort of direct line between the judges and the makers of the benchmark to potentially, if possible, make a new version in short order. Matt, I'm just gonna pop out. I feel like there's a setting or two I would like to just change on the camera. It won't take long. If you wouldn't mind just holding down the fort for a minute or two, I'll be right back. And I will mute my mic if I can. Or actually, I won't, because noise suppression should be good enough. All right, be right back.
Yep,
right back.
I think we're good. Sounds good. Yeah, so we've got Black Dot in first for Y Cruncher. I was able to capture some of his settings. Something that's a little bit annoying, but is understandable, is we notice for the submissions, normally you would go to HWBot, look at the score, and you've got the screenshot up. They don't do that right away. The judges are manually inputting all of the scores. So if you go to HWBot, it will show the score, but you can't see the screenshot, which is a little bit frustrating. The other thing is we've got Demon and Black Dot running two different CPUs, I've noticed. So Demon is running the 285K and Black Dot is running the 270K. I'm not sure what the differences are. They're both running 8P, so just the P cores, they're not running the E cores. I'm pretty sure there's a core count difference there. As far as cache goes for the P cores, that's what I'm not entirely sure on as far as the cache goes. So I'm going to actually go to the CPUs and check out CPU Z and see if there is a cache difference. Let me see here, 36 megabytes and 36. So it looks like, yeah, they've got the same amount of cache on the P cores. So that's going to work out in their favor. You're not going to have anyone with a cache difference. I think it's entirely possible that somebody could run a 6-core for some of these stages, especially for memory frequency valid and maybe even 32M. I think the cache might hurt you in 32M quite a bit. Pi Prime also, theoretically, you could run a 6-core. If it's got less cache, you're going to be hurting, but if the IMC makes up the difference, that's something to take into consideration as well. Let's see here. No, they're basically the same CPU, 270K P and 285K. Yeah, well, that makes sense. You definitely don't want to run a CPU with less cache in it if you can avoid that. And I would assume that these guys binned multiple CPUs each to get a good one that has plenty of cache with it. So for any of the viewers that don't know what binning is, it's not where you throw things in the garbage. It kind of is, but it's not really. Binning is where you test multiple processors or multiple pieces of hardware to see which one is the best. In the case of a CPU, typically you're going to bin it for core quality. But in this particular instance, you're going to bin it for memory controller quality, because the settings at which they are benching the CPUs for frequency, they've got fixed frequencies, so 6 gigahertz on the CPU cores, 5 gigahertz on the cache. With that, pretty much any CPU should be able, in this lineup of Core Ultra CPUs, it should be able to do that on the core quality, especially considering they're running them on liquid nitrogen. So you're not binning for core. You're going to possibly have to run more voltage through a lesser core quality one, but if they've got a good memory controller, that's what you want. So what they would do is probably test multiple CPUs on, the way you would typically do it is you would test multiple CPUs on ambient air temperatures and see what the memory controller is capable of doing on ambient. Now, where that can get a little bit complicated is their cold behavior. So each CPU is going to have different cold behavior. You may be able to run really high clocks on ambient, but as you lower the temperature, a good clocker on ambient temperatures might struggle on cold temperatures. So a lot of these competitors may have binned them on cold temperatures as well. The other thing that you have to consider is it may perform fine on cold temperatures, given you apply more or less voltage. So it's really complicated, especially considering these CPUs. It's not infinite scaling. So there are some CPUs like Unity and I both love running AMD FX CPUs. You've basically got improved scaling all the way down to full pot. The CPU can run at minus 192 degrees Celsius, so you would basically just start dumping tons of LN2 in there. These CPUs, from my understanding, I haven't tested them personally, but from my understanding, there is a sweet spot that you want to hit as far as temperature goes. So you don't want to get it as cold as the CPU will run, because in theory, the memory controller might not want to run at minus 80 degrees Celsius. The memory controller might want to run at something more closer to minus 40 degrees Celsius. So that is definitely something they have to manage. I also am not entirely aware of how these DDR5 kits run on cold either. So that's something that these guys have to contend with too. Not only did they have to bin the CPUs for memory controller, now they've got to test how the sticks that they got provided by G.SKILL will behave on cold temperatures too. So just because these guys came in here as prepared as they possibly can, they might know how their CPUs perform with temperature-wise and overall frequencies and stuff like that. How those CPUs interact with the memory kits that they were provided could be completely different from how they behave with memory kit that they were testing with at home. So this is definitely not as straightforward as it might sound. Whereas, like, if you were running, as I was stating, Unity and I love running FX. If you're running FX, basically you just run it as cold as you possibly can. So these guys have a lot more work to do than you would say on a full pot system. Unity, I was just going through and explaining to these guys the binning process and how complicated running these sticks on cold is compared to how complicated it is compared to basically binning something that's more easy, like an FX CPU.
Yeah, absolutely. I think hopefully everyone can agree that the camera is looking a bit better now. Like I didn't change anything from yesterday, but for a reason the lighting is like dimmer than yesterday, so it was getting a bit washed out. Whereas now we have, I feel like, a better view of the stage. Or am I completely tripping?
No, everything looks good on my end. Could we maybe get into the camera view for Demon? He looks like he's getting a run-in for
Yep.
White Cruncher. So we'll see if this works out. Hopefully Caster's Curse doesn't strike him. Dang it, as I said it.
Black Dot is doing
Black.
something.
Caster's curse
For sure.
crashed. Guys are screwing everybody up over here. This is terrible. You'd
At least
think
it was
that,
an in-OS crash. Oh, he's launching Evolve. Is this the first Evolve run? Oh,
it looks
issue.
like it.
Issue. Let's check out the camera. Has he called over? No, he hasn't called over. Oh, he's called over George. Yeah, I think they're. No, Albie. Yeah, they're diagnosing. Okay, so we're doing MS config. Oh, not enough services. Yeah. See, this is the really interesting thing, right? If this was me, you're given multiple SSDs, right? If this was me, even though it's nice to have backups, I would actually pre-configure, or in the morning, the setup time, set up an SSD only for iGPU benching. And I wouldn't even install the iGPU driver on the other SSD. Because this is the kind of thing that annoys me when I'm benching. If I, for some reason, am limited to a single OS, and within the same bench session have to do both iGPU benching and 2D benching, I can't hack that. I have separate separate images for a reason and separate SSDs for a reason. How do you feel about that? I can't remember offhand how many SSDs they're given, but I believe it's 2. If you had 2 SSDs, would you set them up identically, or dedicate one to iGPU benching and one to 2D?
I am actually in complete agreement with you. I would have one with the driver setup. I don't know how much time they got to play with Evolve before they are running it now.
So I can elaborate on that. So Evolve, the actual demo version on Steam, has been around forever, but it's not identical, like I said before, to the one for the access to that specific binary was given when they were given the SSDs on Monday morning. So they had like a day and a half or whatever to mess around with it.
Okay, so what I would do is if I were in their shoes, I would have spent time that first day, assuming this is a benchmark you want to prioritize. I would have spent time going through and rerunning, or at least relaunching the program while disabling services to figure out the minimum number of services I needed enabled for that particular benchmark. So I've done this multiple times in different iterations, more or less. But for example, if you're, this is just something that's a little bit different, but there's a program for overclocking, and I'm sorry, I'm going to be making a lot of FX references. So that's just what I'm familiar with, so it's what I can relate to. There's a program called PS Check that you can use for a lot of different AMD architectures like K10, FX, and the CPUs on FM2 and somewhat FM2 Plus, called PS Check. That program requires a specific service enabled called Power. And I have a baseline OS where basically all unnecessary services are disabled, and I couldn't get that program to run. So I had to go through every single service. I could either enable all the services, which kills performance because your CPU's having to work on things that aren't related to the benchmark. But I went through basically every single service that I thought could be related to that until I found Power is the one you actually have to have enabled for that program to open. So Unity, I'm sure, has figured this out too. But that is definitely something I would do, is I would have spent time figuring out how many services, the minimum number of services required to actually run the benchmark properly. We still have Y Cruncher going for Daemon. I don't know when the time shift is. It might have just happened at 11:50, so he's getting a run in. Seems to be making it through so far. We'll see if the caster's curse kicks in.
Yeah, so
hopefully he gets a good run in.
We're officially in Evolve time now. I'm hoping to catch the first run as it happens, because I think it'll be a big moment. So I'm keeping an eye. But as it stands, Daemon still has Y Crunch open. I was just called to the stage to clarify something for the stream by our friend Albie, but all good. no dramas, and we're good to go for Evolve. I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I'm gonna run over and grab another water, so I'll be right
Go
back.
for
But
it.
it looks like Demon's making it through White Cruncher, so hopefully he does.
54%. That's usually where it fails, right? All right. Let's just use the opportunity to have a short check-in on the Asus guys. So we have Bill, aka Samson from AMD, in the foreground with the hat. We have SafeDisk, and they're running a GPU, an AMD GPU. Nice. SafeDisk in the middle there, and Scatterbencher, aka Massman, third from the right. Okay, cool to see AMD involved in both MSI's work yesterday and Zeus's work today. What's going on? Do we have a run? No, we do not. Demon still converting and base converting and hexadecimaling and whatever else. A 165. That seems low. Is that just a placeholder? I thought we saw a 124 or something earlier. Let me take a look. So, yeah, I'll wait for Matt to put his headset on. So Demon is saving a 165 run. That seems slow though, Matt, doesn't it? Like, am I tripping or seeing 124s earlier? I'm just pulling up the count.
Yeah, that is a very slow run. He has 126 in. So for those of you who are watching, if you're looking at the HWBot page, it's going to show 2 minutes, 6 seconds, and 666 milliseconds for Demon's score. What that means is you basically have to divide the first. It's divided into the benchmark shows it in seconds, but the HWBot score shows it in minutes. So basically, that would be a 126,666. So you take it, you divide it the minutes by seconds, and then add that to the other seconds numbers. So a 126,666 will be 2 minutes, 6 seconds, and 666 milliseconds. Man, tongue twister.
Especially at this time of night. So we have Alex. He has some numbers. People love to put numbers after names. Alex has some random numbers after his name, but that's his HarborBot handle. The guy with the blue dress shirt and the yellow lanyard around his neck in front of the stage, currently sort of talking to Loud Silence and Sebi. He will be on the world record stage on Friday representing ASRock. And it's his second year doing that. He also was representing ASRock last year on the world record stage. So he's just checking in the kind of background there. We have Shadi and Bastian, I assume, discussing the issues with their custom rig. Otherwise, I mean, it's good to see everyone's rigs seem to be kind of running pretty smoothly. I will admit we haven't had the chance to check in on Sebi yet, but if I'm remembering right from last year, he tends to use his early time in the first session to build a ton of different BIOS profiles, so it's not that we're disadvantaging him in any sense. I believe he just hasn't done much running of benchmarks so far. Oh, Demon's booting, so that could be an Evolve run. I'm hoping. Here's hoping. Fingers crossed.
Definitely hoping. Making some changes in Windows, and it does look like he's got a lot of extra services running, which makes complete sense. And it looks like he might be disabling some. It looks like he's disabling Edge. Smart guy. I'm a big fan of that.
That old tweak.
I'm gonna change a little bit of lighting settings in my office. Let me know, guys, if you like one more than the other. So I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Another reboot. Well, we're getting close. Just making sure we haven't lost Black Dot's rig.
Yeah, you would think it'd be showing the no signal thing if it was an issue. He seems to be pouring and he seems to be smiling, so I would assume things are going all right.
This is the challenge with iGPU benching. We may find that we lose the rig.
I sure hope not, because I've never seen Evolve run. I would very much like to see it run at some point. Actually, I'm gonna grab something else really quick. I'll be right back.
Okay, we're seeing GPZ being opened. That is... Okay, Evolve is being launched. Is this the moment? Yeah, this is what I was afraid of. The Steam version does something very similar, where it just looks like it's crashing, but it just has a really long load up time. Okay, another restart. I mean, this is kind of what I was expecting with Evolve. It's just so different to all the other benches. Everyone's taking their time to reboot over and again. We see a run on the main screen. Is that right? Or no, that's the LCD wall. What am I talking about? No, that's not Evolve. We made
So one thing I'm wondering,
yeah.
there are some benchmarks that really don't like you changing settings in the operating system. So obviously these guys are going to be booting the frequency that they want to be running, because I don't think they're going to be able to change frequency for memory in OS, especially with no base clock overclocking allowed. The big thing is going to be whether or not it likes letting you change your timings in OS. So I'm very curious to see if the benchmark is like, oh, something's changed since boot. You're not allowed to do that. Don't do that. Which means they're gonna, if that's the case, there will be an awful lot of rebooting in order to get your score up, because they might have to change absolutely everything in BIOS. If we're looking at the scores right now, it does appear that Sebi was not able to get a Y-Cruncher score in. Black Dot has a score for Evolve in, so he is actually cooking. First guy to put up a score. The score is 5,096. What that means, I don't know. So it definitely seems like we've lost Black Dot's output.
So that was what the question was about. Okay, I won't go into details, but there was a certain tweak that Black Dot was hoping to apply, and they just wanted to double check if it would have an impact on the stream. And I said no, but I didn't really know. But I was like, well, I want to optimize the competition in any way. So it's just hard to know how the entire capture ecosystem will react to any kind of tweaks. And obviously, it has caused a black screening here. But that's fine. We'll have the other two guys, and that's plenty. Let's go back to Demon. He's having trouble launching. I thought that the custom bin would actually avoid this. So this is the exact issue I have on both of my laptops with the Steam version, is it just looks like it's never going to actually launch. I know it is. I know the Steam version, especially on the very first launch, post installation, is notorious for taking long to launch. But it's just, if people are computer scientists, it's like the halting problem. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Is this our run? Are we gonna get a run here? There we go. Evolve is running. I don't know what any of this means, but yeah, we have a pretty bench being. So we have a dude in a hat. You know, if anyone watched yesterday's stream, they're gonna know that Matt and I are both big fans of hats. So we've got a dude in a hat. We've got some flying dinosaurs. I mean, the graphics quality looks a bit suspect, but maybe that's a tweak. Who knows? And just as a sort of warning, when the score pops up at the end, well, it won't because it's a crash. The cast is cursed. But when we do see a completed run, the score pops up. And it's like a 3x2 grid of 6 numbers. The one that is being taken as the actual result is the compute one. So the other 5 might inform us as to how the rig is running and that kind of thing, but are completely irrelevant for scoring purposes. And in front of the stage we see Slams, who is a friend of Emon. And just checking his friend.
So I'm wondering if there's a situation in which you could completely, you may be able to speak to this, if you completely GIMP your iGPU frequency, if it lowers the, I'm trying to think if you could change where the bottleneck is, so it actually might increase your compute score. I'm not sure how that works. There's some situations where something like that could work, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, me neither. There's another hang. What is that white thing in the center of the frame there? Is that supposed to be like, I don't know, is that like the main character's pet in this situation or something? Like some kind of like avatar type thing? I mean, you know, it's
Very
funny.
Well could be.
It's funny how, let's say, abstract a lot of GPU benches are. You know, if you watch a 3D Mark run from start to finish, it doesn't make a lot of sense, like from a narrative perspective. You know what I mean? Like, and this one is the same.
Absolutely. There are definitely some, like, what is it? Is it 3D Mark 05 or 06 where there's like these space situations.
That's 05.
Combat scenes, and then at the end of the bench, there's this scene where you're on this ice planet. I think that's 06. I could be wrong.
Could be, yeah.
But it's just like there's no context in which it makes any sense. So it's definitely not. It's typically just made for visual effects or something like that. He says it looks like a giant ancient mosquito-like thing. That's as good a guess as I can come up with. So Ice Storm is a different benchmark altogether than what I was referring to. I'm pretty sure it's 06 has that subtest at the end where it's a bunch of ice. I wonder also, so here's something to think about. It probably won't matter because the benchmark that you're testing for Evolve is not the graphics test, but I wonder if you can do off-screen rendering and if that would help.
So we're getting no signals still, at least, so we know when Black Dot is rebooting, but we just don't see anything in OS. Yeah, Science Encampment, that's
yes.
the one. That's GT 4 out of 4 in 06.
That's what I thought. So yeah, if you guys don't know what off-screen rendering is, it's kind of a hack or a cheat. It's a tweak, more or less, for benches like Cinebench or even X265, where you actually drag the render screen off the screen so that there's less workload on the processor, because the processor has to render that scene and then communicate with, I guess, the GPU to output it to the monitor. And even the little bit that those, even the little bit of pulling it off the screen helps with your actual score, because there's slightly less work being done. That's my understanding of how it works. I am no genius, but that's what my understanding is. And I'm wondering if you could apply the same thing to Evolve. The other thing is, I haven't seen anyone try to change affinity for the Evolve benchmark, which I would assume for a compute benchmark might actually help out a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So, Demon, yeah, he's looking down, moving around slowly. There's something he's puzzled by or not happy with. Can you kill Explorer? Usually
I think
not.
Demon is messing with.
Explorer kills are usually not a big 3D thing. They don't do much.
I think Demon was messing with his video out, because if the where
It's
he was looking on
lunchtime.
the motherboard
You see the food being delivered there? It's lunchtime. So
Yeah,
we
I
have
see the food.
Way with the glasses dishing out food, and Kristen in the orange top also contributing. I'm excited. It looks like dumplings, and I'm a big fan of dumplings. So nice.
So jealous. Yeah, they're not going to be delivering me lunch from what I understand.
So Demon's booting again.
Yeah, there's a lot of tweaks that people probably just haven't figured out for this benchmark, which is going to make it really interesting to see if people try different things. And also, one thing that we aren't taking into account, or can't be taken into account right now, is all these guys are on the same motherboard. What we did notice is that one of the motherboard options that I think it's either, I think Surgeman or Handskier's running, could have an advantage because it's got HDMI out versus the USB Type-C. Whether or not they're going to be using that, I don't know. But it does look like Demon has crashed and has to reboot.
That's overclocking for you, man. Like 99% crashes and blue screens and frustration, and 1% absolute elation.
Yeah, one thing I'm going to say, I've never been a big fan of Windows 11 to begin with. But
Who is?
Yeah, right. The clincher for me is they got rid of the blue screen of death and now it's a black screen of death. Like, seriously? Couldn't you guys just keep one thing normal from old school Windows? We want the blue screen. That is a thing for us overclockers, the B-SOD. And I guess it still counts because black begins with B as well, so you can still call it a B-SOD. But it's not the same thing, man. I want the blue screen. Dang it, Windows, get something right.
So, by virtue of the fact of being live today, my YouTube channel has just hit 100 subscribers. That's a little bit of a milestone. Thanks everyone for hitting the button. I appreciate it. Let's go back to the. I mean, I have to admit, visually, the world record stage is much more appealing because, like the way Bill benches and you know his pouring style and the fact that it's a two-pot system, I'm loving that. But of course, in terms of like actual interest, this is where we want to be. What's Sebi up to? He's got a towel out. Is he in trouble or is this all part of the plan?
It looks like he's tearing down. He
Yeah.
doesn't have a towel. I know how Sebi benches. I've benched with him a lot. He does a lot of installation with towels. So he's pulled the towel off his pot, and he's got to be tearing down, which I would hope means he's just reseeding the pot. But it could mean that he's run into some moisture issues and is not going to be able to finish the session. So he's almost certainly going to try to get back up and going. Like, he's got to use the time that he's been allotted to get some scores up. But considering he didn't get a Y-Cruncher score in, I'm guessing he's been having issues since Y-Cruncher and is now like well, I'm not going to waste the rest of the session beating my head over a wall. I've got to tear down and reset back up.
Yeah, and one that did cross my mind was, is he gonna do the thing where he's actually gonna set up his rig differently for 3D? Like, is he potentially going to run air RAM because he did pre-testing and it's probably wrong, but that could be a solution. Or maybe he just, yeah, doesn't like his mount and he wants a fresh go at it.
Yep, hard to say. Demon is up, getting ready to do a run. Let's hope he passes. I really want to see what this looks like towards the end. There, I can see the FPS
that flying
counter.
thing also has a ball of something underneath it that it's carrying around. I'm fascinated. I think I'm probably 3 to 4 psychedelic drugs away from understanding this bench. But the fact that I don't understand it, makes it even more interesting.
Yeah, and this is the annoying thing, is because clearly it seems like an adventure in a dinosaur-infested world. I play the game Ark Survival Evolved quite a bit, dinosaur-based game. I still have no clue what that thing is. So it's really frustrating that I don't have an understanding. Hopefully I can get a better shot of that benchmark. Hopefully Demon can get it running. Here's the other thing. I don't know what the iGPU frequency is expected to be able to run, but I wonder if his iGPU needs to be downclocked. That's entirely possible that that's what's causing his stability.
Hold on. iGPU is clock limited. In this
I understand, but I'm wondering if but that would be like saying in FX your CPU's clock limited to 8 gigahertz. It could be something like that. Not all FX CPUs will hit that. So it could be that his iGPU isn't even capable of running the clock limits. I doubt that's the situation, but it is possible.
Let's actually just full on clarify this whole thing and go to. So let's just assume they're on 285. So let's put the Arc listing. So it's called Intel Graphics. Actually, the subs. Is there a sub yet? No, there's not.
Well, there's Black Dot sub.
Okay.
But it doesn't have. It says his video card was running at 2 gigahertz.
That may just be incorrect. Let's go to the horse's mouth, as they say, and look at GPZ and try to figure out the exact skew of iGPU, and then figure out the stock clock. I'm hesitant to call it the base clock because people will be like, "Oh, base clock is 100." You know, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Black Dot, 5,096 points. Oh, no screenshot. But it is called an Arc Graphics 64. Let's just assume that skew is correct. And now it says they are. Oh, I just got my dumplings. Now it says there is a default clock of 2000. So on cold, I'm just going to assume that 2500 is not a problem. I think that's fair to say.
I would say if I were in his shoes, my pre-testing would be I am not going to run those clocks until I know that the rest, like, you're trying to eliminate variables. So yeah. I would, if you're, let me put it this way. Say you ran Y Cruncher. Demon has run Y Cruncher. Should be able to run just about anything else at those memory settings. So I would lower the iGPU clocks, see if I can get a run through to see if that's my limiting factor.
A little bit of food ASMR right here.
Yep. Glad you're getting some lunch in. I might have to, you know what? I might run to White Castle on my
what a quality food establishment that is.
Hey, man, I've had some crazy times down at White Castle. Oh, those look so good. Do you have dipping sauce?
No, but I don't miss it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm jealous. Definitely looks tasty.
So is your castle 24 hours?
I believe so. We're going to have to check. Hold on. let me put it this way. I have been there at 2:30 a.m. before, so hopefully it is. I actually, that's the crazy thing is,
It's pork
um,
and chive, baby.
oh, it's closed. It's no longer 24 hours. So it was pre-COVID that I went there at like 2:30 a.m. But White Castle is the Waffle House of the night, and I don't know if people in other parts of the world have Waffle House, but it's basically the sketchiest restaurant in the United States. They're everywhere. Crime happens there, but so it's White Castle is the Waffle House of the night, and I have definitely been. I arm wrestled a drunk guy at White Castle. I wasn't drunk, but the other guy was. Arm
Sure,
wrestled him
sure,
in the middle
yes.
of a White
You
House.
expected us to believe that?
You know what? Typically, I would have been drunk in my 20s at 2:30 in the morning on a weeknight going to White Castle, but I wasn't that time. But this guy was absolutely drunk, and he was jacked, like super jacked, trying to impress his girlfriend. And I think I ended up beating him, and I think it was because he was drunk, because it looked like under normal circumstances that guy should have kicked my butt. But is not what happened. I actually beat him. He went looking like a fool. I guess anyone arm wrestling at 2:30 in the morning at White Castle looks like a fool, so I would have looked like a fool as well. We did determine that there's a Burger King open
You're gonna make me jealous.
24 hours. Why? You have got dumplings. I'll take dumplings over Burger King. 24-hour restaurants near me. Let's see what we've got. Is that Wendy's 24 hours? Nope, that says closed. Why? Well, Google, why would you even bring it up if it's closed? There's an IHOP.
Nah, don't do
Pizza
that.
Hut.
Don't do that to yourself. What do you reckon the lunch meta is in this comp? Demon is not eating. Sebi is eating. What would you do?
So I typically don't eat breakfast. It all depends. I would probably. They've got what, a 3-hour window? I would not eat during the competition. That sounds to me to be a waste of time. I typically get my best work done in the mornings before I have any food. So that's probably the route I would go as well. Let's see here. Some gas stations open. I could do gas station taquitos. The least healthy food probably ever conceived of, but it's so good. There's a Sonic. I forgot about Sonic. That's open 24 hours. I haven't been to a Sonic in years. International Donut Day this Friday. You can get them there. Can you get them there, Unity? Yeah. Can you get donuts on Friday?
Sure.
There's a Dunkin' Donuts. Opens 24 hours. There's a Dunkin' Donuts near me that's open 24 hours. I know precisely where that is. So might have to do that Friday. Granted, Friday should be a shorter stream, so I'll probably, and I've got to work Friday, so I will be streaming till, well, I guess it's not Friday for you guys, that's Thursday afternoon.
Yep.
Or is that Friday? So, wait a minute, am I thinking about this right? Thursday, do I have my calendar right?
What day of the week is it currently for you?
It is currently, it just turned into Wednesday morning.
Yeah,
so,
see, it's the afternoon of Wednesday here, so we're like a day ahead, kind of.
Yeah, so, and there's 3 days of, did I mess up my schedule? Are there 4 days or 3 days? There's 4 days, right? 4. So it'll be, so you guys, the tournament goes through Friday.
Correct.
So it'll be Friday afternoon. So we'll finish streaming theoretically for me Friday morning at 1:30 a.m. In which case I will probably try to get some sleep, and then I've got to work Friday, which will be a rough day for me, but we'll make it through. We're pushing through, guys.
Pro asks, what's
Unity.
a Zeus benching? Massman Scalabencher channel should be up, and probably the forum to ask that question is on his chat. I have no clue what they're benching. I mean, I can just go visually. You've got Bill from AMD in the foreground, who has a two-pod rig. So that would, I assume, be the 9070, because that's the new release. So 9070 on whatever rig is the first rig there in the foreground, and what Massman's doing in the background, I can't tell.
9070. Okay, so AMD GPU. People definitely enjoying their lunch there today. Looks like Sebi's setting back up. Hopefully he can get some work done on Evolve. I don't think we've got anyone in OS right now. Maybe Blacktop, but we can't see his rig, which is a bit of a shame.
And in case people do not know how to search for Scatterbencher's channel, here's the link. I just opened up his stream, and he is currently doing CPU profile for some reason. I don't know why, but that's what he's currently got open.
Do we know what chip he's running? What CPU?
Do I have to do everything?
I'm just asking if we don't know. Oh, I guess I could go to his stream.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm not going to make you do everything. I'll go to Scatterbencher's stream and see what he's running.
I only see scores. I don't... oh, he's on a 270K plus, whatever that is. I've never heard of that, but it's an Intel CPU. I know that much.
What do you mean you don't know what it is? One of our guys is running a 270K.
I have no interest in Arrow Lake. No, I just the different SKUs. They all blend together for me. I mean, once they got rid of hyperthreading, I'm like, what's the point of different SKUs anymore?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I get it. In theory, the refresh CPUs are going to have a better IMC. From what I understand, they are basically higher bins of the older ones. So I definitely understand why they refreshed them. It's kind of Intel's thing now. They did the same thing with Raptor Lake. They had 13th gen and then 14th gen, which was a refresh of 13th gen. In theory, architecturally, they're identical, but from what I understand, 14th gen is typically a better bin than 13th gen.
All right.
Let's see if we can get anything
I seem to be a bigger fan of my own chat commands than anyone in chat, but if you go exclamation Scatterbencher, that will lead you to the other stream from the other side of the stage.
Switch to Demon. He's got a run going.
But he's gonna finish. Oh wow, we have a animal there. So that's progress.
Lower FPS, but that could definitely just be related to where they are in the scene. Different parts of the scene are going to have different stress on different parts of the system, CPU or GPU, or memory. Tyrannosaurus Rex. I think that's what that was. This is definitely giving me very much Ark Survival Evolved vibes. I'm liking it. This is so good for me. It's therapeutic. Looks like that little bug. It looks like a bug that was carrying a seed or an egg. Hopefully that's what it was. I'm gonna have to give this benchmark a try. This looks very interesting. I'm gonna be very interested to see what it can run. I'm actually gonna check to see, because I don't have many modern GPUs, but I do have a GTX.
Is this a score?
Compute
3304. There we go. The first completed score on the stream live. I don't know why Benchmade was open. Maybe he just forgot to close it. But we've got a 3304, which is worse than Black Dot's, right? Like I don't even have to look at Black Dot's score to know.
By a significant margin, but hey, it's a score. So. And
score is a score. That's the saying. Wow, Black Dot is on 5K.
What? Oh, he just ran. He didn't even run. He ran XMP for that. If that, 2800.
It may not scale. We don't know. But let's keep an eye out for the sensor tab.
CL.
He's actually on full on stock pretty much. But a score is a score.
And that's what I'm saying. You need to figure out where your issue is, and if you have to start from square one, do it. What I would do now if I was him is I would load my Y Cruncher profile, keep the iGPU at 2 gigahertz, and run it. That's what my play would be, because I think I can't imagine this is harder on your memory than Y Cruncher. So that's what I would do. But
Sure. But he was debugging, like he was getting fails at stock earlier. That's why he's as low as he is.
But I think his strategy is very good. I think this is, instead of beating your head over the wall, get the dang score up, and then you know it's not a bug with the OS. Very good way to go. Very happy with that. Just playing this right, playing it smart. For sure.
So, if we assume perfect scaling with iGPU clocks, he's 25% down on the clock limit, which I assume is what Black Dot ran at. So if you add 25 on top, he's getting closer to the 5.1K Black Dot has. I'm still not that close. Sound gone.
I don't think it's the... Well, according to... Oh.
That's that dodgy New Zealand internet you've got, Bob NZ.
According to Black Dot's submission, he was running at 2 gigahertz on the iGPU. Now, whether or not that's accurate, I don't know, but I would say it's going to have a lot more to do with the memory frequencies if Black Dot was able to get runs in with good memory. Because he was running... Demon was running at 5600 CL46 or something like that, or CL42. So very bad settings for memory. I definitely think it's related to memory more than it is to the graphics cards. Now, having said that, it's also showing Black Dot was running at 3.7 gigahertz on the core, which I'm sure is not accurate. So it could be that Black Dot was running at the full 2500 megahertz on the iGPU. Just we don't have enough information because they don't have the screenshot up for Black Dot yet.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. We don't know for certain that this bench scales with RAM. I mean, I would assume so because it's a G.SKILL comp and they want to showcase their RAM. But if I'm just gonna be really simplistic about it and say, what other benches do we know that are compute on GPUs? Well, there's GPU Pi, and that doesn't care about memory. So there's at least a chance that the scaling memory is non-existent or very low. And the reason that they're running cold memory is just for time's sake, because what would be the point of spending time on tearing down and taking the pot off?
Yep, it's hard to say, but we don't know. You're right. We don't know anything about this benchmark. I can't imagine they would include it if it did not scale with memory. It's a GPU benchmark, and almost every GPU benchmark outside of GPU Pi scales with memory on the GPU. And because it's an iGPU, the iGPU uses the system memory, so your DDR5 memory, for the graphics card. So I would assume it scales. They also do a ton of pre-testing for this competition, so they would have tested the benchmark to see if it scales with the memory.
We've got a broken OS for Sebi. Did you catch that?
Yes, I did.
I mean, potentially broken. It may just be the OC that he's applied, but that is often a telltale sign of a dead OS. I hope that's not the case. Wow, this is the biggest close-up we've ever had of anyone's face right there. But yeah, I mean, we know for sure it scales with RAM. I'm not saying that it doesn't. I think people are misinterpreting what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we don't know 100% that it scales with RAM until we see two scores, one with XMP applied, let's say, and one with the RAM clocked, and nothing else changed, and the second score is higher. That's all I'm saying.
You're saying you're not believing anything until you've got evidence to support it.
Well, because there's no point in preempting that, because we're about to see people clock up their systems. If they're spending time on higher RAM clocks, we have our answer. If they don't, we also have our answer.
That's true. Will be different. So somebody in chat, Pro Team AU, says he has tested it. We'll see. Hopefully Sebi's system gets up and going. We didn't, not supposed to show BIOS, but we didn't see anything there from Sebi's system.
That was literally just an F10. That is not a tweak.
Yeah.
In case anyone's not aware, F10 is save settings and boot.
Yep. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to see. Yeah, so Demon did post his score of the 3304 at XMP, significantly behind Black Dot. Again, we don't know anything until we get the screenshot. Oh, Black Dot's screenshot is up. Sweet. We've got that. So we've got some information. He was running at 10,000 CL32 on the memory. The CPU was running at 5 gigahertz. It says the maximum multiplier was 5,500. I don't have an IG.
We have
GPU-Z in his screenshot.
Demon screenshot up as well. So let's do a full-on side-by-side comparison. So Demon, just as a reminder, compute 3304. That's the actual score that we're taking. Let's go through all the settings and things. So we've got 2 SPs. That's not important. He's obviously on the Apex, and this very much looks like default settings. He's also not clocked his cache or his cores, and he's running the render test here because we see 98% GPU load, and he's at 2G on the iGPU. That all makes sense to me. That's why the score is so low. It's just a placeholder. Now let's go to Black Dot, and here we can compare and contrast. So again, compute score is down here, 5079. Again on the Apex, 10K on the RAM. So this is got the Encore clocked up to 5. CPU core he's not much with. It wouldn't surprise me if a GPU compute bench did not scale with CPU core. And we've got our SPDs down here. So, and mem controller. Oh, that's just half. Yeah, because it's gear 2. This is not surprising me whatsoever. I mean, typically iGPUs are memory bandwidth starved, so the fact that they're running 10K loose makes total sense to me. The only sort of experience I can talk about is I'm really testing my memory here, but for one of the country cups I ran 3 Mark 06 on a 9900K iGPU, and there I was running a 2 PCB layout, and I was clocking up into the 4600, 4666, 4800 RAM at pretty loose timings. I think it was like CAS 15 for memory. And I also have experience with the AM4 and AM5 APUs. Those also love memory bandwidth. So the fact that they're running 10K at, I mean, CAS 32 is about as loose as you would want to go on DDR5, and then the middle timings are very loose. Right. Anything to add from your point of view, Mr. Matt?
The only thing is that Black Dot's score doesn't seem to have the GPU Z tab, so I don't know if that's going to affect his ability to actually sub that. I mean, it's been subbed, but it might get pulled, so he's going to have to rerun it at some point if GPU Z is required. Actually, I can check the rules for that stage.
So the way they're enforcing the 2500 limit on the iGPU is by having the sensor tab in the screenshot. He is right next to League, so maybe the way they did it was to have League look at it. We'll see. It could play out either way, but kind of unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, we seem to be already moving on to the next stage. We have two competitors on 32M. I'm kind of sad because I was loving Evolve, but that is how the schedule works. It was good to see a first sort of sneak peek of the bench. I'm really looking forward to seeing it once again. I imagine crop up this afternoon because this afternoon will be the second session. So the other two groups both have not run Evolve yet, which basically by process of elimination means that there has got to be Evolve this afternoon too. And I'm looking forward to it. This has been fun, seeing something a bit more visual. I think it's been a great pick already for the comp.
Absolutely. I'm definitely excited. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure if these guys in the afternoon are going to spend a lot of time focusing on Evolve. So my understanding is that this afternoon session is 3 of the guys from yesterday, or potentially one of the guys from today, this morning, are going to get to, whoever's competing this afternoon, are going to basically get to run whatever they want. So there's not going to be the same time restrictions on each benchmark. Could be wrong, but that way they get to just fix all of their other scores, and they are going to have to get an evolved score in. Whether or not they focus on that is going to be the clincher. Again, my thinking is just run your Y cruncher settings through Evolve, get a score up, and then revisit it if you have more time later. Theoretically, you should be able to run Evolve through with your Y cruncher settings, considering Y cruncher is such a heavy memory intensive stage. Could we go to one of the scores? I thought I saw when you had Black Dot up that he was actually doing quite well, at least on his init. So loop 17, I'm comparing him to Sens. Loop 17, he's at 310. Sens was at 309. So he's actually a little bit behind Sens at the moment by about a whole second, actually. So the init was really good for Black Dot, but subsequent loops are not performing quite as well.
So the question about commands and stuff, the reason these OSs look a bit rough is because in order to reduce the possibility of cheating and funny business, the OSs are actually supplied by the judges. And what I said earlier about the OS was incorrect. So the 4-6. So let's just go through the material for quickly for the comp again. On Monday morning, the competitors only got the 4 sticks. The OSs are not only judge supplied, but they're also not. They don't leave the sight of the judges, let's say, because then you could again do something. So no written notes of any kind are allowed. No smartphones or smartwatches are allowed on stage. No USB sticks other than the wiped USB stick that is used to transfer the scores from the competitor's rig to the judge's rig. Therefore, what you're suggesting in terms of batch files and stuff, the person benching would have to type that in manually, which is time consuming, and would also have to be able to recall that from their memory. And that is probably the answer to your question is it's a waste of time. And also, why memorize that when you have 100 other things to memorize?
Yeah, for sure. So looking at Black Dot's score, that actually puts him just above, or puts him up ahead of Spokey, but last of the competitive so-called scores. If we're looking at his memory settings, hopefully he pulls up a memory tab here when he saves it, because that's the one he's missing. Running at 10,000 CL32. So it looks like he just took the settings from his Evolve run and got a score up. Good call. Again, getting up enough scores is just as important as having good scores. So you need to fill out every stage, and that's what he's doing. Very smart move, in my opinion. The big thing is, say you were running in the morning session. So we've had the 3 sessions, yesterday morning, afternoon, and then today morning. Those are your those are your sessions where you are required to run a certain benchmark. Say you don't fill out those stages, and then the next session you have goes poorly, like we saw with Day yesterday. Now you're really screwed because you haven't filled out the stages. So you really, if you don't fill out the stages, you're automatically going to be behind by, what, 50 points probably, or 40. I think the lowest score for any given stage is going to be in the 40s. So if you don't get a benchmark run, you've already cost yourself 40 points, period. End of discussion. Even if all of your other scores are top, you could still lose, like, you could still do very poorly in the overall comp because you failed to get an entire stage in. So I think the way Demon is playing it and Black Dot are playing it, you could say they're playing it safe, which is true. That is absolutely true. Because if you look at Biso only has one scoring. Absolute baller score for that stage, 65. But if he has issues in his next session where he has moisture issues, socket heater issues, OS issues, can't fill out the rest of his stages, he's dead in the water. Whereas these other guys may not have top scores, but they filled out their stages. So that, I think, is the smartest play.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so slightly slower in it, I think, for him, but we'll see how his next loop does. Slightly better, still not as good as Sen's.
I mean, he doesn't have a score up yet, right? So this may just be a placeholder-ish score that he's working on here.
Well, he just finished a score and saved it, so I'm trying to, from memory, compare it to what he just did. So that's about the same in it. You can see he's stopping the benchmark. Super Pi has it's not a slot machine like some of these other benchmarks. And that's not fair. None of these are so-called slot machines, but reruns can often help out. Oh, he just realized his CPU's running at 5 gigahertz instead of the 6 gigahertz. You saw him check CPU-Z wondering why his score was so bad. So when he ran Evolved, he was running at 5 gigahertz on the CPU, and then he's like, oh, I need to be running at 6 gigahertz for Super Pi, which Super Pi is very core heavy as well as memory heavy. So very smart call from him.
We have Demon with the kill all again. What's going on with the kill all? Wasn't not Spooky Hansky doing it yesterday as well? I just don't think it's faster. I really don't think so.
Yep, I'm gonna have to agree with you. We'll see if it works out for him. It looked like the init was very good. Again, init doesn't mean everything, so that's definitely something to keep an eye out for. Demon does appear to be in OS, and it sounds like we've got some stage music going.
Yeah, that's just for you. No, I'll turn that off again. As always, I'm tinkering with the settings. I mean, the great thing is, with I anticipate. I'm the eternal optimist. I anticipate by the final, we'll have everything locked in, and it's going to be the best stream ever.
Absolutely. So,
and
maybe
talking
we can
about
check
Hansky,
out
he's actually in front of the stage there with his signature hat again. So that's good to see. I guess he's getting ready for. Is he in the afternoon group? I don't know offhand, but he may very well be. I'll double check that.
So maybe we can get Demon's screen up to see how his Super Pi 32M run is going. It looks like he's still rolling it, so...
He's not doing the kill all, so I already like it.
So let's compare him. I'm going to pull up Sens' score really quick. Loop 4, Demon's at 46,138. Loop 4 was 45,900 for Sens. So still behind Sens. Again, Sens, reigning world champion. He was running at 10,133 for his memory frequency at CL34. So that's something to compare. We don't know what Demon's settings are for memory at the moment. Hopefully he finishes this run and we can get a little bit of insight into that, but he is definitely behind Sens at the moment. Not going to know exactly where he lands until his run finishes. Let me pull up Black Dot's score, see how he's comparing to Black Dot's previous run. Oh, Black Dot doesn't have the screenshot up. Hansky, let's pull up Hansky's score. Hansky loop 9. This is 141.7. Loop 9 for Hansky was 141.5. So he's even behind Hansky. So maybe around the same time as Black Dot, 4 minutes 34 something. Oh, Demon has a score up for Super Pi 32M, so he must have already got one, and he was at 435. So second behind, more than a second behind Black Dot, almost 2 seconds behind Sens. So definitely something to keep an eye on. It would definitely appear to me that Super Pi with DDR5 is favoring memory frequency, which it always loves memory frequency, but it does seem like it's favoring that over timings and latency potentially. We're gonna have to see settings, but I'm not entirely sure.
So we've got a person watching the comp who's female and who's not an employee of G.SKILL. So I think that's worth pointing out. We haven't had much of that. Yeah, so that's I don't think you would mind me saying Alex and his partner checking out the proceedings. So that's good to see. She seems to be interested. Which is a rare thing. All right, let's
Yeah, for sure.
let's have a look again.
Hey, Sebi's up. Haven't seen him yet in a while.
Oh my goodness, he's the Bisso of this group, isn't he? Oh, just procrastinating.
I've benched with Sebi. He's one of those guys where I don't understand his benching procedures, but once he gets
as long as he understands them, I think that's fine.
He puts up amazing scores. He's an incredible bencher. Obviously, I mean, he's a former world champion, and he's made it to the He made it to the. He was in the finals last year, so to not put him as a potential winner this year would be ridiculous. But he's definitely somebody where it's like, how did you get that score? And he'll spend 4 hours not producing anything, and then bam, something amazing pops up. So really good bencher. It's going to be interesting to see what he's able to pull out.
Oh goodness. Is that a run that's completed for Demon, of all people?
34.5. So let's see how that compares.
Why is he off screening it? Oh, that's the one capture card that's slightly wonky. Yeah, there's some sort of weird overscan or something going on here. Oh no, they may have actually swapped back to dedicated display out cards, and I have to adjust my stream accordingly. Okay, that makes some kind of sense.
His CPU frequency is bouncing all over the place. I wonder if he still has C states enabled. That could definitely have an impact on your frequency or on your score, because you want your CPU to be running at maximum frequency the absolute instant you start your benchmark. And any sort of fluctuation in load is going to cause your CPU to go into a lower C state, so a lower frequency. So I think he's got to get that fixed, right? That's got to be holding him back a bit.
Yeah, this is one of your bug baits. I don't think it makes as big of a difference as you're making it out to be, but it does make a difference, that's for sure. It just, like we were just talking about, and you know the other thing that's going on is I don't have the label up, so let me just quickly fix that. Or I do. So many of my problems are related to the fact that I don't have enough monitors in front of me. I'm constantly like zoom in, maximize and minimize and tile and untile and anyway. Okay, so everyone's benching sort of methodology is different, and I'm certainly in the camp that would in many cases disable the likes of C states early on. but I also have had it happen where disabling C states scores worse in combination with another setting. So I don't blame Demon for leaving that until the end. He would certainly be aware of that. It's hard to miss when you have C states enabled. But first of all, I'll point out that even with C states enabled, you still have affinity and priority available to you in Benchmade, which kind of, sort of, not entirely, but almost entirely overrides C states for the likes of 32M, which is a single-threaded benchmark. But the tweak that I'm not on board with is kill all. I just don't think it's faster. It's just another step that he's applying that is doing sweet F all, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, and there have definitely been situations where C states definitely screw you over. So and this is actually going to be more of a similar to C states, but not entirely. So I don't know if you know this, but on FM2 gigabyte, if I'm not mistaken, FM2 gigabyte motherboards, if you disable cool and quiet, it basically locks your first module at the high frequency, but locks your second module at the low frequency.
Yeah, that was a factor in the push to hardware for 5800K, especially in the iGPU stage.
Yeah, so I remember this was, gosh, this would have been spring of 2021, if I'm not mistaken. I had just started getting into overclocking, and I was streaming it, and I was having terrible Cinebench scores. Like, I did not understand it. And it wasn't till I had AMD Overdrive open, and I was able to see how the modules were clocked, and the first module was clocking fine. But I watched the second module was stuck at like 1.2 gigahertz, and I was like, that's it. And then McCulty, who's another guy who used to stream overclocking, he might still do it from time to time.
He got married and has other priorities now.
So he was watching, and he's like, oh yeah, I think I remember something. And then he pulled up some sort of forum post from like 10 years prior, where somebody had pointed out that gigabyte motherboards will do that with cool and quiet disabled. So I had to re-enable cool and quiet, and that saved everything. But yeah, I'm wondering if Demon, what he's potentially looking for. Is he just looking for that perfect init value? That's a good one.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah, it's still going to depend on how it goes next. Let's see. He's very close to Sens on the first loop. So Sens was at a 12.757. He's at a 12.772. So he's definitely looking for a perfect start. And this, to post this to like, or to compare this to a racing analogy, you would think about this as like getting the perfect launch off the line, I think is the way to look at it.
Absolutely.
So looking at that first loop, 1777 would be faster than Hansky, but still behind Surgeman and Sens if the run seemed to scale the same as the first loop. I really think he needs to fix that C state. I think the C states might be the one thing that saves his init, which again, init isn't everything. But he might be able to get a much better init if he changes those C states.
We have Black Dot on a run as well, so let's just go there.
That nice stage music. There you go. So Black Dot, I think, is about in line with Hansky. Let's see. Loop 11 is 2 minutes 3:24. Loop 13 or 2 minutes 3:75. So he's actually. Wait a minute. Let me see here. 11. He is ahead of Hansky at the moment. So hopefully this run finishes for him. Hopefully we don't get a not exacting round on Luke 24. But wouldn't be the first time I saw that. I've definitely seen that happen. The other thing is, I would assume, here's the thing. Is screenshot, does Benchmate put less of a load on the system than like something like screenshot.exe? Because I've not seen as many people have issues saving scores in Benchmate as I have like when I'm running an old system and running screenshot.exe.
Please provide more context. I mean, for what bench or what platform?
Well, I'm just saying SuperPi 32M. Like, I know you've been in this situation where you can finish the benchmark, but as soon as you try to take a screenshot, it crashes. I don't feel like that happens nearly as frequently with Benchmate as it does with other older platforms.
My opinion would be that that's a function of the fact that a modern OS with Benchmate on it clocks so much lower than a stripped XP. So you're running at lower clocks, so your system is more stable, and therefore you're so much further away from the clocks at which taking a screenshot becomes an issue.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. Annie points out that I like my racing analogies. There's two reasons for that. First off, I am a car guy. I'm a big fan of Formula One. But the other thing is, whenever I'm trying to explain to somebody what overclocking is, I just tell them it's drag racing for PCs. And I think that's like I've struggled to come up with a better analogy than that. Because what you're doing is you're trying to make something go much faster than it was ever designed to do. That's the same thing you do with cars. Is if there's another thing that you can compare that to, oh, that's the second place for Black Dot. He just overtook Surgeman, right behind Sens, really close behind Sens.
So Annie does some sim racing. So yeah, he's also a car guy, pretty much.
Cool. Glad to hear that. Yeah, I've got a sim setup. It's a very poor man's sim setup, but it's definitely a fun hobby of mine. So
4933 CAS 30. That doesn't surprise me that you want kind of, by DDR5 standards, you want pretty tight memory for this bench.
Yeah, let's see what his frequency is at. So he's running at a lower frequency. Close the dang Benchmate window so I can see what you were running. I want to... Come on, Black Dot. I just missed it. He's grabbing his scores so he can put them on the SSD. Smart move. I want to see these memory settings. Minimize. This is frustrating. Come on! Don't close the window! Oh my gosh! He closed it before I could capture it.
What a troll.
Oh, it's so frustrating. I'm gonna have to talk to him about that. That's not fair. There's Demon looking, almost looking at the camera like, why are you looking at me?
Is he in trouble, or is he just crouching down to give his legs a bit of a rest?
I would assume the latter.
Okay.
Let's see here. Has Sebi got a score in yet? No, Sebi still only has his frequency valid up. Like you said, Sebi definitely plays things a little weird. I've even talked to him about this. He spends a lot of time on his first session just getting his profile set up, which makes a lot of sense. Like, if you can get all that work done, you can bam, 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 bam through benchmarks. So, very fair play. Just definitely very stressful from a caster's standpoint, because currently he's in second to last as far as the rankings go. So, and there's 3 competitors that only have 1 score up so far. That's Biso, Sebi, and Day. So, definitely a stressful time.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
That rig, for such a short session, that rig is really getting iced up quite a bit.
Yeah, it really is. I don't see. He doesn't have any fans pulling air away from the system as far. Oh wait, he does. I'm blind. He does have a fan up there. So
I'm blind because hold on.
maybe.
Let me do a little zoom on my streaming rig here. Let me try and spot it. So I see a fluke. I see two pots. Oh, of course, at the top there, attached to the rods. Okay, all good.
Yep. Yeah, but you're right. That is an awful lot of ice. I wonder if his system is able to run colder, or it runs optimally at colder temperatures than most other competitors. That would be very interesting.
So it was kind of
And
blending into the background. The fan was. It's kind of the same color as the desk, as the stage. So yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
So we have
So we
Black
got-
Dot getting ready to do a run. So let's have a look over there. I mean, he doesn't really need to. He already has a pretty killer run up. But you know, when in Rome.
Yeah, but like we were saying, this is one of those things, like if you can knock out a really good score on your first session, you don't have to focus on it later. You can say, look, I might... Every time you post a really good score early on, you're forcing the other people to respond. So that's the same thing with Surge Man with his memory frequency and his... What stage is that? That is Pi Prime. Like, excellent scores. Wait a minute. They removed Hansky's Pi Prime score.
Okay. What could
I wonder if
possibly
we
have
can
been
get
the
some
reason
word
for the
on that.
pull?
You have access to judges. You could actually find that out. So,
Yeah, I will give them a buzz. Interesting.
yeah.
I remember. I mean, I'm
So
a
the-
pretty big stickler for like screenshots. When I looked at the screenshot, it all looked legit to me. But I guess I missed something.
It could be that, I don't know. It's really hard to say, but I was looking because I was like, wait a minute, Surge Man shouldn't be in first in Pi Prime. He was only first in memory frequency, but he's in first in Pi Prime now because nobody else has a score up besides Spokey. And so here's the other thing. This is why you get all your scores in. Spokey does not have a good Pi Prime score. He's off by over or about a second. Not a great score, but he's in second because he's got a score up. So this is why you got to get these scores in. You can't leave anything on the table. I get why people bench the way they do, but if you have a bad session later and your score, you don't have a score in, you're really screwing yourself to get in the qualifyings for the finals. So Black Dot, Demon, Surge Man, all playing it smart, getting 4 scores in. They're the only 3 competitors that have 4 scores in right now. That is the play. Everyone so far has had the opportunity to get at least 4 scores in. They're the only 3 that have all 4.
Yep. That's definitely an issue. But we still have a second session coming up. Oh no, not another kill-all run. Guys, it does. I don't think it does anything. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm only a caster. I'm not there, so, you know. So we have, wow, that's a lot of condensation coming out of Black Dot's rig. We have scores in 7 years. What's that a reference to? Oh, I don't understand that, Yi.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's a reference to.
We have
So we've
someone
got
taking a
2 guys
picture
that are-
of the camera. Very meta.
I think they're taking a picture of the rig, I hope. But we've got 2 guys getting runs in right now, so maybe we could look at one of those. Hopefully,
Sure,
we've got Black Dot.
It's actually only Demon.
Oh, Black Dot was running. Maybe he had a crash. Demon getting another score in. I'm going to pull up his current score, see if it's an improvement. That's the other thing. These guys aren't looking at their previous scores. They have to do this all from memory as far as what their previous best is. And you basically, SuperPi is very nice that you can see in the loops how you're doing. So what I will typically do is I will have my, I'll either take a photo with my phone, or if I've got a capture card, I'll pull it up on my streaming rig or my daily, to see what I'm trying to beat if I'm ahead of my previous best. Typically, I'm trying to beat somebody else's score, so I'll have their score pulled up. But if I'm trying to beat my personal best, I'll have my score pulled up. They don't have the opportunity to do that, so they're going based off of memory. So Loop 90 is at 141.48. His previous was at 141.75. So he is ahead of his previous best. So he could get much closer to, say, Black Dot or Sens in that stage. I really hope that that's what ends up happening, because currently he is in 5th. So let's compare him to, say, Surge Man. Let's see what Surge Man is at. Loop 11, he's at 23666. Surge Man is at 23521. So he's a little bit behind Surge Man at the moment.
But certainly worth keeping an eye on that.
I see what he is saying. Yeah, 4 score in 7 years. I get that. 4 score 7 years ago. Gettysburg Address. Yep. It's currently 1 a.m. here. So actually, he's in the same time zone as me, if I understand correctly. So, but I think he's more accustomed to being up at this hour than I am. So forgive me for my brain not being working 100% right now.
So I have confirmation that the pipe run is pulled due to, and this might explain why it was a second faster, breaching the core clock limit on effective in Benchmade. So that is as legit of a reason to pull a score as any.
Yep, that stinks, because I guarantee you he wasn't doing it intentionally. It might have been something where there was a boost clock set or something like that. Or maybe he thought he could squeak it by. But
that's never going to happen with 3 judges out here and a live stream. No way.
That's crazy. That's terrifying. Like, as a competitor, you're like, oh, dang, now I've got to redo that. But yeah, that would definitely explain why it was significantly faster. I was blown away by how much faster it was. I feel like I should have caught that, especially after we had the screenshots. I wasn't looking at that. So, but here's another thing. You got to think these other competitors are going to be the best critics of their opponent's scores. Like, I don't know. I'm going to make another racing reference.
Oh, here we go.
But if you watch Formula One, a lot of the times you'll watch a driver like Max Verstappen, if somebody gets past him, he's going to be like, oh, he overtook me off the track, or he pushed me off, or blah, 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 he did this wrong. Most effective critics of the other competitors that they're up against. Now, it's up to the judges to determine whether that criticism is warranted, and very frequently it's not, but this is definitely an instance where I would not be surprised if another competitor was like, hey, judges, did you see this? Because the judges don't always catch everything.
Sure. So we have a result. 33 doesn't sound that fast to me. I don't have every single score in my mind, but I believe that's not first place. I'm just browsing
No,
around.
that puts him ahead of Hansky, but behind Surge Man. So Surge Man was 4-minute 33.620. This is 4-minute 33.716. So he's not far behind Surge Man, but he's got to gain almost 700 milliseconds to catch up with Black Dot. So definitely some work still to do, but it's a score. Puts him ahead one more spot ahead of Hansky, so definitely worth putting up.
And his mem is at cast 30, 9600, nothing too wild there. Let's go back to the cam. He's plugging away at it, you know. He's focused. He's getting his scores out. I think he's kind of doing everything right.
So what's our schedule look like for how much more time they have in this particular session? Looks
Not
like
20 minutes, I
think
believe.
it's over 110. No,
Oh.
According to the schedule, it's 110. So this should be their final runs. And then we'll be taking a break.
Yeah.
So let's see how this particular session ends. But it's definitely looking good for Black Dot and Demon, even if they're not, even if they don't have the top scores, which Black Dot is in first in 2 of the stages and second in a third. So Surge Man is definitely being carried by the fact that Pi Prime got pulled down from Hensky, but Black Dot and Demon are in solid second and third place. So it's this next afternoon session is definitely going to start kicking things off, because this is going to be, for some of these competitors, it's going to be actually all the competitors this afternoon, it'll be their final session, right? Before the
Correct.
qualifiers?
So
or, I should say before the finals.
Six total live qualifier sessions, 2 per group. This is the third of 6, so we're at the exact halfway point of the live qualifier, which means all remaining sessions are final sessions for the competitors within them. So yeah, it's heating up. It's definitely heating up. The comp is heating up. No more or less messing around now.
You can see
any sort of like failures in a particular bench are terminal, essentially. There's no go back.
Yeah, it's going to be very costly for anyone that fails to get a stage in. You can see Demon is tearing down, he's putting the condensation into the pot so it doesn't spill onto his board. I've actually never seen that. I might have to use that method in the future. But he's tearing down, and Unity is right. I don't know if you guys were watching last year. I was able to chime in for the cast a little bit last year, and it was on fire at the end of the third day last year when we were getting the final scores in to see who qualified to the finals. So Unity is absolutely right. This is where the rubber meets the road. Starting this afternoon, things are going to start kicking off. We're going to start seeing what people are bringing to the table, and it's going to set the benchmark for all the competitors tomorrow as to what they have to beat in order to get into the finals. And actually, if you look at the scores currently, at least according to HWBot, Surge Man and Black Dot are tied. So first and second are tied. That's pretty crazy.
All right, I'm going to pull that up. So, hitting refresh. Yep. Absolutely. I mean, the composition is different stages, obviously, because that's how I was going to composition again. The composition of their scores is different because the way that the competition is designed, they have up to this point run different stages. However, it all boils down to the same thing: 242 total points for both Surge and Black Dot. That's pretty crazy. That is pretty crazy.
So in theory, if the competition was to end right now, Surge Man would win because he has the higher memory frequency valid. Having said that, if you look at Black Dot's memory frequency valid, that is absolutely a placeholder, because I think he was running those clocks. I don't even think, he wasn't. Let's see if he's got a screenshot. So no screenshot up, but I can go to the verification URL, and hopefully it'll give us some timings. So yeah, the timings weren't loose enough for like an actual valid run. So basically he said, I'm going to be running these frequencies. I'm just going to get a validation link in so that I've got my score up. That's a smart play. That is a very smart play. He's got a score up. He's got no empty stages. So even if his entire next session goes kaput, he's at least got a score up, which is huge. Because think, even if he's last in that stage, I think the minimum points you can get is going to be something in like the 43 range. So that's an automatic 43 points he's got, even if he doesn't add anything to that.
Is temp monitoring just entirely borked on his platform? Because a validation at 105 Celsius just doesn't seem realistic. But
no,
okay.
I think it's borked. Yeah, it's got to be borked. So.
Oh, Black Dot is pretty fancy because he brought both an electronic heater and a map gas space. Because earlier I was going to say we have the contrast between the two different pull-up methods, because simultaneously I saw Demon using his torch and Black Dot using his little heat gun type thing, electronic heat gun.
Mm-hmm.
But now I see him with
Yep.
his torch, so he actually, even though space in your checked luggage is at a premium, he actually appears to have brought both. So considering we're in teardown mode, let's just in with the world record stage. Um, looking quite focused there. So Samson is probably gone for lunch. We just have Sace in the foreground, and Mr. Scalabencher wearing, you know, his fancy wristwatch there and trying to explain something to an unidentified visitor to the stage. So they actually have a they often have a little, like, like the line that they put outside a nightclub to make it correctly. They have one of those kind of things, or maybe a better comparison for people of our age is one of these little configurable lines that they use at the airport to reconfigure the queue for immigration or whatever. They have one of those up on either side of the stage, and we see Shaggy in appearance. They have one of those up on both ends of the stage, with a little sign saying competitors and employees only. So the person next to him, Massman, is probably one of the other Zeus employees or something along those lines. I am going to take the opportunity to take a break. We shall be back soon with the afternoon session.
Mm-hmm.
It is, according to the schedule, it's an hour and 12 minutes from now. So, yes, let's take our deserved break, compress a little bit, and if you fall asleep, thanks for joining in for the session.
No,
I
slept. I slept from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. this afternoon, so I should be good for the entire rest of the session. I'm not going to say my focus is as good as it would be if it were during the day for me, but I got plenty of sleep in. Should be good to go. We're casting all night, baby.
Oh, nice. One more question in the chat. Annie's asking, how did you get into XOC?
So I got into XOC I got into overclocking years ago when I built my first PC, and my friend had an FX 6300. I had an FX 4130, and I wanted my PC to be as fast as his. So I started looking at how to make my PC faster, and I found this crazy thing called overclocking. Come to learn, FX CPUs are pretty good at overclocking, so I did that. I always admired the people that did extreme overclocking. Back then, it would have been somebody like Bauer, but I never got into it. And then when in 2020 or in 2021, I started doing some overclock streaming, and McCulty actually started watching my streams, and then he kind of introduced me into the extreme overclocking scene. But my first time extreme overclocking would have been Country Cup of 2021. One of the competitors actually hosted an extreme overclocking event that I was invited to, and that was my first time pouring LN2, and I've been hooked ever since. So 2021 was how I got baptized into extreme overclocking, and it's been awesome. So that's my introduction, and I decided the way Unity and I kind of got connected was I wanted to start answering basic questions that people that might want to get into overclocking would ask. So I started a show, and I asked Unity to be a guest on the show, and it kind of just turned into a dual, like he's just no longer a guest, he's just one of the regular hosts. So that's basically how it turned out.
All right. I don't believe I can cross-host. Like, if Massman's stream were on Twitch, I would actually just host his channel right now. But all I can do is I just put your in the chat. Whoever's watching, either on Elmore's channel or on Facebook or on my YouTube or on Twitch, all are about to go offline. But if you want more XC content, I highly recommend you to go over to Massman's stream because he's soldering on. The lunch break is already over. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll be back in about an hour's time.